Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Hey! Get out! Get out! Get away from the car! 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 Get down! Get down! Get down! Bájate del pinche carro. Get out! Get out! Hey! Get out! Get out! Get away from the car! 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 Get down! Get down! Get down! Bájate del pinche carro.
Where's his ID?
I don't know.
Alright, you're good.
Robert, do you need a break?
I'm good for a little bit of acrobatics right here.
There is a break now.
Take over?
Yeah, we're going to take over here.
Cars that he did.
That's good.
And then,
Ready if you want to jump on.
All right, we'll go back into this. So this last slide that they put up here, the San Diego Police Department is conducting the investigation since this deputy-involved shooting occurred within their jurisdiction. District Attorney's Office are going to review the investigation. Normal stuff, right? Like sometimes, other agencies do other agencies' investigations, and of course there's always going to be the District Attorney's Office that, or in Kentucky, it's the Commonwealth Attorney's Office that will end up, looking at this kind of stuff. The county's Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board is reviewing the incident and will provide appropriate recommendations. So I have a problem with entities like this and being able to be the ones who give recommendations. There's going to be people on this board who have no fucking experience whatsoever doing this kind of work. It's going to be the same kind of people who have no experience, just like the people commenting on social media have absolutely no experience whatsoever, and they're drawing from their mind what they've seen in movies or TV shows. And then they come up with these ideas, and they're like, well, could he just shot him in the leg? Durka. No. But it don't work like that. So unless there is some type of training course that these people have to be able to go through to be able to get onto the board, then they shouldn't be on this board. Like, there are some agencies who do a Citizens Police Academy where they take them through and they show them all the stuff that's supposed to be done. If there would be something similar to that, but with obviously a lot more in-depth stuff in it, that would have to be a prerequisite in order for someone to apply to such a board, I would be a little bit more okay with that, because these would be the people who've been given some degree of knowledge about how stuff is done. But I would even go so far as to stipulate that since they're going to be looking at use of force stuff, that the bulk of what they have to study and learn before ever sitting on a board is use of force stuff. Otherwise, if you take some random fuckstick off the street who has only done minimal work that doesn't involve any type of human aggression or violence whatsoever, and have them start reviewing other people who had to resort to force, had to resort to violence, there's just no way they can make a fair and impartial decision on anything when they have nothing to compare it to. If all you've done is worked in an office and the most violent thing that's ever occurred to you is getting a fucking paper cut, then you're way outside your lane when it comes to reviewing this kind of stuff. So I have a big problem with these initiatives where they just take regular people off the street or from the community and they put them on some type of a review board that has some type of power to do something towards these officers. Huge problem with that. What's also interesting to me is they noted that the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the U.S. Attorney's Office are also monitoring the investigation. Why are they monitoring it for? Like this, I don't know. From the get-go, I just kind of don't really like the progression of this. So, these two undercover deputies spotted a stolen car. The undercover deputies requested for uniformed officers to come assist. That's a good tactic because they're in plain clothes. And you see one of them, he's got blue jeans and a t-shirt on. And it's best when doing these kind of takedowns to also have uniformed police on site. That way when general public turns around, they see people with guns. They see dudes in blue jeans and stuff with guns, then they don't know who the hell they are. But when they see a police car there, it's marked up and there's a uniformed police officer and then there's people kind of standing with them and they're all pointing their guns in one direction, then at least the people know, hey, this is the police and there's a bad guy somewhere over here. And for some of the criminals, because they do engage in such a criminal lifestyle that they themselves could be robbed by their own kind. There are lots of dope boys being robbed by other dope boys, right? Like it happens all the time in all the shit neighborhoods. There is no honor among criminals. There's no honor among thieves and drug dealers. They'll rob each other. It is a cutthroat world in the criminal underworld. So it does make a lot of good sense to be sure to have uniformed police because the criminals that these undercover guys are going after, they go after them. These criminals will just assume that they're other criminals trying to take their shit, and they'll fight back. If it's the police, then if it's uniformed police, then hopefully that would increase the chances that they would recognize that this is the police. And hopefully they would be less inclined to want to fight back. So I like the tactic of undercovers, plainclothes, calling in uniforms to come help out. That way it just helps out with identification for everyone involved. The surveillance footage provided doesn't really provide a whole lot, but we do get to see the vehicle smashing into this one pretty hard.
Hey! I got that bitch. Get out! Get out! Get away from the car! 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 Get down! Get down! Get down! I got that bitch.
It's hard to see a lot of what's going on. This is, of course, a shopping center, it appears to be. And we do see the police car way over here. Now, they've already gotten a couple of people out of the car, and the driver's the one who's refusing to get out. Personally, I think if they're dealing with a stolen vehicle here and it's in a parking spot, then when that police cruiser pulled in, that police cruiser should have pulled in as close to the back of this car as possible. That way, when this guy did try to decide to back up, if the police car was parked behind him as close as possible to him, then that would have decreased the gap between his stationary vehicle and the police stationary vehicle. And when he would have backed into that police car and tried to move it the chances of him actually moving that police car out of the way would have been decreased. Without the vehicle behind him, he obviously has free rein to back all the way up. If the police car had pulled in but left a few feet of distance between the two, then this guy could have gunned it, hit the other vehicle with force, and been able to move it out of the way. The closer you have two stationary objects together and one tries to move against the other, it's a lot harder for that one object to move the other object. When there's gap in between them and one object is able to cover some distance and then hit the other object, it's a lot easier for it to move it out of the way. So I think they should have pulled their police cruiser in behind this vehicle as close as they could have gotten it and then got out on them. He still, and I would argue that he still would have tried to have backed out, still would have tried to run. But if the police car was parked directly right behind him with couldn't even fit a hair between the vehicles, then he wouldn't have been able to go anywhere. He would have been stuck where he was. And then they could have had more options, more time to utilize more options. They could have went ahead and deployed taser on him or something like that, and maybe be able to get him out without anything happening.
Get down! Get down! Get down! I that bitch down! Get away from the car! Get down! Get down! Get down! I that bitch down!
So we don't get to see a whole lot. We only see it from this officer's angle pretty much. But the guy takes off. They both go down to the ground. This guy hits this vehicle. And you can see how easily he has knocked this vehicle out of the way. It has gone somewhat completely sideways here. And this is what I was talking about, two objects having some distance in between them. When there's distance between objects like this, between vehicles like this, it's a lot easier for the aggressor vehicle, I guess you could say, to be able to knock another vehicle out of the way. At this point, you still hear the engine revving. This officer's on the ground. There's other people in the way. This officer has a legitimate fear that this suspect can now throw this vehicle in the drive and start running people over to escape. This officer uses deadly physical force to protect himself and the others. There is a legitimate fear that since this guy, he's already rammed his car into something else with potentially other people in it, because when you back it up again, it almost looks like there's someone in this vehicle. So he's already harmed other people. There's nothing to physically keep him from throwing this thing in drive and going forward. He's revving the engine. He does end up going forward. This officer did nothing wrong in utilizing the amount of force that he used to try and stop this person from killing other people. And this vehicle will kill. It will 100% kill. It'll probably kill more effectively than that pistol that he has. And that's why in my vehicle tactics class, I advocate that if you can run someone over, run them over. Don't waste your time shooting through the windshield. That's Hollywood shit. I mean, yeah, there are scenarios where that's your only option. You've got to fire through that windshield. But if you can run them over, run them over. That's what I teach in vehicle tactics. So a vehicle is a very viable, deadly weapon. And this officer obviously recognizes that and utilizes the appropriate amount of force to try and stop this guy. He fires, the guy continues to move the vehicle forward, and he fires some more. he came super close to running one of his own people over. This is a suspect from the vehicle. Like I said, no honor among thieves. They don't really give a shit about each other. They're all out for themselves. And why do you think that there's so many high convictions with certain crimes that you if you really look at the details, people will be getting away with it? Why is that? Because they snitch on each other. That's why. That's the dirty secret with criminals. They snitch on each other. They all like to claim that none of them are stitches. They're true to the game. They real G's. But the truth of the matter, they're all bitches. They all snitch on each other. I know. Because I get them to snitch on each other all the time. If they think they can snitch and get some better deal, they're gonna snitch. That's all criminals are. They snitches. Now there are some who they won't snitch for most things, but an overwhelming majority of them, they'll snitch for the small things. There's still a lot that will snitch on big things just to save their own butts. There's few that just won't snitch at all, but overwhelming majority of them, they're snitches. That's why so many of them end up getting nice plea deals. It's not like prosecutors are just going to pull a plea deal out of their ass just to give out plea deals. No. It's a trade. You get this plea deal for information.
Stay there! Get out! Get out! Get out!
With the amount of rounds that he fired, I would say that most likely he caused enough physical damage for this guy for him to become physically incapacitated. And it looks like after firing these rounds, this guy became incapacitated. And eventually, at some point, as his body went limp, his foot still being on the accelerator from where he made that initial conscious decision to hit the accelerator and go forward towards the officers, it looked like he eventually went limp, and the weight of his foot pressed into the accelerator, and he went continued to go forward after that. Initially, he changed gears and put his foot on that accelerator to get out of there, and the officer fired, rightfully so. But I would say that because his foot was initially on that accelerator, when he went limp, his foot stayed there, and because he obviously wasn't controlling his limbs anymore, the weight of the foot and leg pressed down on the accelerator, or continued to press down on the accelerator, and he rolled forward into the vehicle. At this point, this dude's he's not awake anymore.
Get out!
So he's over here doing CPR. That is the only medical intervention we see being done. Do they have the equipment to do any more? I don't know. But they are performing life-saving measures on this guy. They're performing CPR. At this point, this is futile, It's not going to change anything. If he has a bunch of bullet holes in him and you're performing CPR, but you haven't plugged those holes or do anything to stop the bleeding, then the CPR is just going to continue to pump more blood out of the body. It's not helping at all. It's like that little funny meme with that little short chubby character off The Simpsons, where he's just kind of like standing there, and the caption says "Chuckles" or whatever, and it says "I'm in trouble" or "I'm helping." Like that funny meme. Like, this is an appropriate time to slap a meme on the screen here and say, "Yeah, I'm helping," when really it's not helping at all. So the more he pumps on this guy's heart, the more blood is going to be coming out of those bullet holes that aren't plugged or done something to stop bleeding. I don't see a trauma bag or anything laying on the ground. I don't see anything that appears to be anything like medical. The only thing medical related I see are these gloves that they're wearing and the fact that he's doing CPR. So when it comes to medical gear, I of course always say that officers should always be carrying medical gear on them. That's what I call first line medical gear. And second line medical gear, or supplemental medical gear is what you could call it, would be stuff that stays in the vehicle. That stuff can be things like pressure bandages, tourniquets, compressed gauze, quick clot, nasopharyngeal airways, stuff like that. They obviously don't have any. They're just doing CPR. That's it. That's all I have to say on this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.